Hello and welcome to another episode of Cognitive Dissidence with me, Niall Murphy, and here I am coming at you on the 29th of August 2025. And, being in this far off remote place, looking at England, that very, very far distant land, is very interesting at the moment. So I've wanted to know, because a lot of people are asking the question, is the Operation Raise the Colours thing, which has been going on for a while now in England in particular, is this some sort of psyop, or is this organic? I think it started off as something that actually is organic, and I think it's actually a good thing that they are actually rising up and showing that symbol. But when I look at the greater, the zoomed out, bigger picture perspective of it all, there's been a lot of typical what I would think of as like empire divide and rule stuff going on regarding flags, and it's been going on for quite a while. And of course this goes back to if I was to start from flags that have happened recently, if I do a 10-year history of flag shagging division that's been going on within the last decade or so in the UK, or just generally I suppose in the Western world, but from a particularly England-centric perspective, one of the things that we have had to deal with was, again, getting on for almost a decade ago, when I cast my vote. The only vote I ever voted for was for us to have one tier less government than we usually do. Shame they didn't give us a referendum to get rid of Westminster. That would have been even better. Get rid of government and just in its full form, just wipe out the political classes. Had they given us that referendum, I would have voted for that to go as well. So naturally I had to vote to leave the EU, but of course the reason why I did it was never reported on. It was never part of the narrative. That's the thing. The only reason, of course, to leave the EU, of course, was because you were racist. Do you remember that? See, this is the thing. I didn't realise we were leaving Africa. Sorry, couldn't resist that one, but there you go. So yes, when it comes to the hostile flag psyops, one of the hostile flags, shall I say, is definitely that flag of evil empire itself, the EU flag. I mean, it's one of the ugliest flags that I could ever think of existing. There's nothing beautiful about it. There's nothing really significant about it, except that it's just a consolidation, standardization and homogenation of individual sovereign states into a collectivist form. I cannot think of that organization to be anything other than something that would eventually become commie-fascist. So of course that was one flag that I was very happy to jettison. Now of course, another flag of course that came along that did seem to be somewhat hostile, colonizing, intimidating, occupying, and a flag so holy it would be sacrilege to even satirize it. And of course a few people did satirize it and got a few visits from the friendly Mr. Plod. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, and that was of course the progressive pride flag, which of course had to be hanging everywhere. Now I would argue that that flag, just by its very existence, is a co-option, or whatever you would like to call it. The original rainbow flag was just the flag that the gay people used, right? And of course, when it was modified and modified and modified until it had that little circle, that little chevron with a circle on it, plus the extra bits of brown and black that were added to it, I see that flag as being something that is a co-opting of culture for the purposes of manipulation, division, discord, and everything else. Because it was supposed to be all-inclusive. It's all-inclusive except for one group of people. The only one group of people that actually keep the species going. So not really very inclusive when it comes to that, So, if you want to live for a generation and then become extinct, the next generation or 2 generations later, die out as a species, then it's all inclusive of that, isn't it? Right. So this flag, of course, seemed to sow discord because of the way it was shoved down our throat. Now, of course, when it comes to individual people, I don't care if they're gay, straight, black, white, or any of the rest of it. I don't care where they come from. When it comes to people, individual by individual, if they're nice to me and if they command respect, individual to individual, I don't really care about their identity, their sexual orientation, their race, or any of the rest of it, you know, because I mean, it would be ignorant to be that sort of person. But the fact is that they have deliberately created these forms of division, and that flag was definitely used as a psyop, just to see how far they could push people into reacting in certain ways, so then they could accuse them of being whatever they wanted to accuse them of being. And then, of course, another flag came along, which kind of became, I think of it as the honorary flag of Middle England for a bit of a while, especially in the post-COVID era, and that's the flag of Ukraine. See, everyone had to stand with Ukraine, you know. I don't know why you had to stand with Ukraine necessarily. Maybe to save money on chairs, because it would cost the price of a chair to sit with it, like that, you know. Again, you know, another one of those forever wars that I, you know, personally am being told by the media, being told by the political classes, you must hate Putin, you must love Zelensky. And if I'm just thinking, oh, fuck myself, another fucking forever war, then automatically they want to tell you that you're a Putin apologist. Because neutrality and indifference don't count, you know. You're bad if you're not picking a side on some foreign war that, you know, I didn't really want to start. You know, I mean, regardless of what Putin did, you know, I personally didn't want there to be something like that to happen. Now, of course, I actually have a close friend who's English but of Ukrainian origin, and you know, now she had the Ukrainian flag. And so I didn't judge her for that, because of course she's got skin in the game. She actually comes from Ukrainian stock, so fair enough when it comes to stuff like that. But the way it got turned into a flag of virtue signalling by middle class people, and I was thinking last time I was in the UK, you could tell whether you were in a working class area because you had the George Cross flag everywhere. You could tell if you were a middle class area because of the Ukrainian flag. And then of course another flag comes in as well, another hostile flag that you get the friendly Mr. Plods coming around your house, hello, 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 if you criticise it, and that's the flag of Palestine. Now, that's not somewhere I want to go, because you've got people on one side that hate Israel, you've got people on the other side that hate Palestine, and again, you know, being of Irish background, growing up in England, and I could not even decide which side to take when it came to the Troubles. All I wanted was for the Troubles to end. However it was going to happen, you know? That's all that mattered, you know. And I, as I said, I was getting the British propaganda. When my parents went to Ireland, I was seeing it from the other side. So I became somewhat, how to say, a little bit immune to one-sided propaganda when it came to that one, which I think kind of helped me out in my adult life, not falling for certain sides when it came to that. So there you are. And those are the flags that I kind of think have been used really as a psyop, you know, when it comes to recent years in the UK. Now, of course, when it comes to what flags should I like, I'm somewhat ambivalent to the Union Jack, and I'll tell you why. If you're from an Irish background, the Union Jack is a flag of empire. Same goes for like the Americans. The Union Jack again is a flag of empire, and that does make me feel somewhat ambivalent. So, and there's another issue as well, and that is for the people of England, Wales, and Scotland, and the people of Northern Ireland, who will see that a lot of the new arrivals will refer to themselves as British, because British is not a nationality as much as it is some sort of political umbrella. You know, there was an empire, there was the Commonwealth. There are people that can say that they come and they can say that they have the citizenship of being British, and so therefore being British is not really a nationality. It's a conglomeration. It's an umbrella term for sovereign nations that are under the occupation, even to this day still, of a dying empire. An empire, nevertheless, though a dying one, still using the same old divide and rule tactics. Now, of course, I look at the Irish flag, and what's my issue with that one? Well, My problem with that one, and again, I voted to leave the European Union, my problem with an Irish tricolour, or tricolour, however you pronounce it, is that it looks like a continental European flag. It looks like the flag of France or the flag of Italy. It's coloured in wrong. That's my issue with that. It's a standard, homogenised European flag. So I don't really think of that as mine. So then I was thinking, right, what's a flag that I would adopt? And so I've got this sort of subverted Union Jack that you'll see here. Now this one I decided to adopt as the Independent Republic of Niall. It's a sort of English-born plastic paddy flag because it's got the red cross of the George cross and it's got the white background, but the red, white and blue bits of the flag of empire have been coloured in with the colours of the Irish flag. Now this is my attempt at subverting the flag of empire, not including Ireland into Britain, but it's unique and I don't necessarily want anyone else to have that one. So then I've got to get onto the flag of England, and here's an old flag of England, an old Anglo-Saxon flag that seems to have been forgotten. This is the white dragon on the red background. Looks similar to the flag of Wales. But back in the day, the white dragon represented the Anglo-Saxons and the red dragon represented the Britons, the old Celtic Britons, you see. So, and I like that flag. I think that the English should adopt that again. I mean, right, the George Cross, fair enough if you want to have that one. But I think, right, that it should also adopt the old white dragon. Look it up, English white dragon flag, see what you find out about it. I think the Anglo-Saxons should adopt that flag. Bring it back, revive it. Because I think that's a great flag, you know. And, you know, when it comes to, again, the George Cross, well, how do I feel about the George Cross? I spent many years believing, right, that the George Cross, right, when I was younger, and I kind of feel like I had more malware in my brain, that it had been co-opted by the racists or the football hooligans who were a bit racist or whatever. But the flag itself, when you come to think of it, is ancient. It goes back to before 1066. I think it goes back to the 900s AD. So it's only for a very, very small post-war era that it was attempted at being co-opted. Now, it wasn't changed. They didn't add a chevron to it or do anything like that. No, it's a very old flag. It's been around for a long time. It's not just recent like the Union Jack is, which I think has only been around since the 18th century, maybe 19th century, sometime like that, you see. All right, in its first form, it didn't have the broken up diagonal red cross in it because it only contained the flags of England and Scotland. The broken up red bits in it, which came from the flag of Ireland, the old flag of Ireland, was added to it later. So the Union Jack itself is not that old. Now, you know, seeing it on Noel Gallagher's guitar, seeing that flag being used in the old mod sign and seeing that flag being used as a flag of rock and roll, I'm happy to see, you know, because it goes with the music. And, you know, I mean, there was no country to touch music when it came to England in the era of rock and roll, from the Beatles right up and maybe until the 90s and the just, I'd say, pre-Britpop era. I think it started to jump the shark after that, but in the 60s, 70s, 80s, bit of the 90s, there was nothing. When it came, no country could touch Britain when it came to music. Excuse the dogs in the background barking. I don't know how loud they're picking up on the microphone, but this is what you get out here in the Philippines. It's the same in India, you know, you just be sitting there and the dogs all start to perform opera, you know, and that's the thing. So there you go. Let's hope that they shut up soon. Anyway, back to flag shagging. If you ask me, what do I think of Operation Raise the Colours? I do think that it would be actually a good thing for the English to have a patriotic renaissance, and the Welsh and the Scottish and the Northern Irish. I also think it would be a good thing for them to use their national flags over the Union Jack, and for the Union Jack to be considered secondary when it comes to stuff like this. And the reason why is because these national flags are not flags of empire. These national flags are flags of the people. These flags are the flags of the working classes. These are the flags of the people who are disenfranchised in this horrible era of techno-kleptocracy that we find ourselves living in at the moment, as they try to bring us into this horrible world of a digital gulag in the era of neo-feudalist globalism, right? These national flags are ways of saying this is us being autonomous, this is us being separate from all of that. And they're also not imperial flags. And this is the reason why I think it's a good idea. But at the same time, I do love the sort of irony and satire that gets involved in it. I like the sort of jokes about if you want the mini roundabouts that have not been painted in a while to be repainted, if you want your rubbish to be taken away and you want your potholes of your roads to be filled in. I love the way you say just paint a George Cross on them and they'll be done. Here's a meme I saw recently.
Let's see how long this one takes them.
That old sofa has been there for 3 weeks and my son painted an England flag on the front and the council came straight away to remove the bloody thing.
Look how fast the council remove my bins when they have the England flag on it.
So basically, as I look at this era that we find ourselves in now, one thing that does concern me is if entropy kicks in. What happens if entropy kicks in and then people decide, right, oh, we've done this, we're getting a bit bored with it, it's dying down, we get it out of our system, we don't keep, raising colours, and then the English kind of get bored with that, and then as a result, the England flag only comes out during football or whatever, again, like it was before, and then containment sets in again, and the momentum is lost. Then it will all have been in vain. I think personally, this is some form of civil disobedience that must be sustained for as long as can be gone into the future. There is one thing that I do fear, that I don't want to see happening in England though, is sectarianism leading to something not dissimilar to civil war. So we have to see how that goes as we go through time. The problem is though, of course, is that this bunch of scum, de la scum, call them creme de la creme, the people at the top. Scum is the other thing that goes to the top, so I call them the scum de la scum of the globalist schwabocracy, are utterly relentless and will never stop their psyops and will never ever stop being relentless in their endeavours to ensnare and to trap people into all of the things that they want to do as they try to lead us into this horrible world of digital neo-feudalism that never ever wants to stop. So we've got that to look forward to. And then of course the discord that is being sown from, how can I say, hostile newcomers. I'm being very, very euphemistic with my language when I say that, and people feeling a little bit put out somewhat by hostile newcomers coming in to the UK, feeling like there is a two-tier system, anarchy for the newcomers, the left-leaning middle classes and everyone else, and tyranny for anyone who doesn't buy into the narrative. But the war is not actually between the woke left on one side and the right on the other. No. Everyone is being divided, everyone is being ruled, everyone from a lot of the hostile newcomers to the stupid lefty middle class to the English working class, everyone who isn't a member of the elite is a pawn in a game. The only real enemy that there is are the ruling classes. The present day ruling classes that exist at the moment, they're the only real enemy. And until everyone unites against them or finds common ground against them, which actually does look impossible at the moment because people are too busy fighting between left, right, nationalist, whatever, lefty stuff, people are not going to unite. So what can actually cause people to unite? The only thing that will make people unite is when it gets to the point where the middle classes start to feel like they are being put out because they're getting poor, or the hostile newcomers are starting to encroach on them. When a lot of people are no longer as healthy and no longer as wealthy, no longer as comfortable, then that's when the change starts happening. But the times will become extremely hard by then, and that's the problem, isn't it? So when it comes to me, I ain't really a flag waver or a flag shagger, but I do understand the renaissance of the English needing to reclaim their identity, and don't allow the people who attempt to set the narratives to say, well, that's okay as long as you're only flying it during the Lionesses, the female football or whatever, or you're only flying it at appropriate times. No, it needs to be claimed as an actual national flag. The English, England as a sovereign, individual, independent nation died in the 1700s as it got co-opted into the United Kingdom, which is now known as the UK, as we often call it now. And I look at this and I think, well, the Welsh got the Senedd, the Scottish got their own Parliament, Northern Ireland got Stormont, England is not represented in devolution, England's just got Westminster. Westminster is not your friend. The Royals have most certainly turned out not to be your friend anymore either, when it comes to that too. And yeah, I'm all for the four nations that make up the United Kingdom, basically self-actualizing. We're all friends, we're all from similar tribes. It is only one archipelago, and the other nation on that archipelago, my motherland, Ireland, include that as well. You get working class members of the Five Nations, the Republic of Ireland, and all within the UK, Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland and England. You get 5 working class blokes down the pub, one representing each of the 5 nations. You get banter, you get banging the world to rights. We have a lot more in common than we don't have. We didn't really need to be played off against each other. We could say that never mind the world political, never mind the world national, when it comes to the world physical, we are kind of all one people, but we have our own territory, we have our own tribes. And unity between those tribes would most certainly be a good thing, wouldn't go amiss. Maybe throw a Cornish person in there to represent a Celtic culture that got somewhat misplaced in the way. But at the same time, my concern is that this can be manipulated by the old divide and rule strategy of empire. And that's something to look out for as well. You know, how do we rise above this? How do we become, how can I say, as aware and as conscious of this, and how not to be played? I don't know. And then of course all the good people who came from all the colonies and from all the foreign lands that came into England that don't mean us any harm, that did settle into the UK, who agree with the natives that the way that immigration, say for instance, is done, they also may agree that it's been done the wrong way now and it was done differently in their day and it affects them too. Well, they're our friends too. How do we unite with them? You know, because this is the thing. Ultimately, it is just the people versus the ruling classes, the people who basically put themselves above us as our overlords. You know, people like, well, the Saruman figure. Tony Blair is a good example. Here is Tony Blair as Saruman. I put that together earlier today. Hope you like it. But who will be ultimately being ruled by now? And I don't know, but I just think that there is some sort of Sauron figure running the world. An invisible hand, like the flaming eye of Sauron in Mordor, has no known physical form and is sitting above us. And we have to do the modern day version of dropping the ring into Mount Doom, you know? And me, Elrond of Rivendell, there I'd be saying, one of you must do this. There you go. Right, so I shall leave it at that. See you later, alligator. See you soon. Baboon.